Hey Broncos fans, we've got some exciting news that's sure to fire you up. But before we dive in, if you love watching the Chiefs lose to the Eagles last Sunday, go ahead and hit that like button. And if you're feeling bold, drop this in the comments. The Broncos will be in Super Bowl 60. Now let's talk about a few key takeaways from Sunday's game, things that could work in Denver's favor this season. First up, the shocking downfall of our longtime rival, the Kansas City Chiefs. And trust me, their loss was even worse than it looked on TV. At one point, the Chiefs were down 40-6. Let that sink in. This so-called unstoppable dynasty looked completely lost. And who was behind their downfall? A familiar name, Vic Fangio. Broncos fans know him well, and on Sunday, his defensive scheme absolutely shut down Patrick Mahomes. This game proved what we've been saying all along. The Chiefs are not invincible. In fact, the Broncos have already shown they can slow them down. NFL analyst Andrew Mason pointed out a key fact. In recent matchups, Kansas City has struggled to score more than 2 touchdowns against Denver's defense. That's a big deal. The only thing holding the Broncos back? The offense. If Denver can step up its scoring, the AFC West is wide open for the taking. And here's a bold prediction. The Chargers might actually be a bigger threat to the Broncos than the Chiefs over the next 5 years. Kansas City has invested huge money in Mahomes, Chris Jones, and Travis Kelce. But let's face it, those guys aren't getting any younger. The rest of the league is catching up, and time is undefeated. That brings us to another game-changing possibility. Deebo Samuel in a Broncos uniform. Reports say Deebo is ready to move on from the 49ers after talks with Kyle Shanahan. He's one of the most explosive playmakers in the league, able to line up as a receiver, running back, and everything in between. If he lands in Denver, he could be a perfect fit for Sean Payton's system in the highly coveted Joker role. Could this be the move that transforms the Broncos' offense? Let's break it down. That kind of versatility is exactly what Sean Payton wants in his Joker role. A dynamic playmaker who can create mismatches all over the field. But is Deebo Samuel worth the risk? There's no doubt he's an elite talent, but last season he wasn't always happy with his role in San Francisco. At times, his frustration even spilled onto social media. The last thing the Broncos need is unnecessary drama in the locker room. However, if there's one coach who knows how to get players to buy into a system, it's Sean Payton. He's already changed the culture in Denver, and if Deebo buys in, he could be a game changer. Then there's the contract situation. The 49ers would either have to absorb part of his current deal or cut him outright, allowing Denver to sign him on a fresh contract. Former NFL quarterback Robert Griffin III has even weighed in, saying that Deebo would be a perfect fit in Payton's system. This isn't just fan speculation. This is coming from someone who knows the game inside and out. So should the Broncos make a move now or wait and see if Deebo gets released? Meanwhile, Sunday's Chiefs loss might have long-term consequences. Analyst Ryan Edwards made a bold comparison, saying Mahomes' loss could mirror what happened to mighty Cam Newton in Super Bowl 50. Denver's relentless pressure that night changed Cam's career forever. He was never quite the same after that. Could we have just seen the same thing happen to Mahomes? There's a real chance that this loss sticks with him mentally. And if you zoom out, things aren't getting any easier for the Chiefs moving forward. Rashee Rice, one of their top young receivers, is likely facing an 8-game suspension. Hollywood Brown and DeAndre Hopkins are free agents. Travis Kelce is another year older, and there are even rumors that he could retire soon. The power dynamic in the AFC West is shifting, and the Broncos need to be ready to take advantage. As we head into the offseason, there are big decisions ahead. Free agency is around the corner, followed by the NFL Combine. The big question, will Denver fill the Joker role through a trade for Deebo, or will they find their guy in the draft? If they go the draft route, should they target a tight end or a running back to take on that versatile role? Payton has made it clear. Building from the inside out is key. That means focusing on the offensive line, linebackers, and safeties, just as much as skill positions. Maybe instead of chasing a flashy playmaker, Payton is planning to build through the trenches, just like the Eagles have done. Either way, big moves are coming. Broncos country, stay tuned. It makes perfect sense. Dominant offensive and defensive lines have the power to control the game. If the Broncos can build that kind of presence, the rest of the AFC West should be put on notice. With free agency just around the corner, names like Cooper Kupp, Chris Godwin, and of course Deebo Samuel are being tossed around as potential Broncos targets. The draft is also going to be huge, and once the official schedule is released, we can start breaking down matchups and making our predictions for wins and losses. There's a lot to be excited about. So Broncos fans, what do you think? Is the AFC West really up for grabs? Should Denver make a play for Deebo Samuel, or would it be smarter to target someone in the draft? And with the Chiefs looking more vulnerable than ever, is this finally the moment the Broncos reclaim the division? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let's get the conversation rolling. This offseason is going to be wild, and I'm pumped to see how it all unfolds. One of the most important takeaways from all of this is that the Denver Broncos are no longer just hoping to compete in the AFC West. They are firmly in the mix. The Chiefs' struggles, laid bare in that humiliating loss, show that their reign isn't as solid as it used to be. Under Sean Payton, the Broncos are building something that could seriously challenge for the division title in the near future. For years, the Broncos' biggest issue wasn't their defense, it was the offense. Denver has shown they can slow down Mahomes and the Chiefs, but they haven't been able to put enough points on the board to capitalize on those defensive stops. Now, with a full offseason ahead, Sean Payton has the chance to reshape the team's offensive identity. And that's where the Joker role comes in. If you've been following Sean Payton's coaching philosophy, you know he loves having a player who can move around the field and create mismatches. This is the guy who turned Taysom Hill into a legitimate offensive weapon in New Orleans. Now, he's on the hunt for the right player to fill that same role in Denver. Could Deebo Samuel be the answer? The rumors are already swirling. Deebo is one of the most versatile players in the league. He can line up in the slot, on the outside, or even in the backfield. The thought of him in a Broncos uniform should have fans buzzing, but there are still questions to be answered. What would it cost to acquire Deebo? If the Broncos make a trade, they might have to give up significant draft capital. But if the 49ers release him outright, Denver could potentially sign him to a team-friendly deal. That's why patience might be key here. The last thing Sean Payton wants to do is overpay for a player when there's a chance he could be available for a more reasonable price in a few months. Another key factor to think about is the upcoming NFL draft. Denver holds some valuable picks, and there will be no shortage of talented offensive weapons available. So the big question is, would it be smarter for the Broncos to use those picks to find a young, dynamic playmaker instead of spending big money on a veteran like Deebo Samuel? That's a decision that Sean Payton and GM George Payton will need to weigh carefully. And let's not forget about free agency. Beyond Deebo, names like Cooper Kupp and Chris Godwin have been mentioned as potential targets for Denver. Each of these players brings something unique to the table, and if the Broncos are looking to make a major splash, they've definitely got some intriguing options. But no matter what path they choose, one thing is clear. The Broncos are focused on loading up on offensive weapons. Now, I want to hear from you, Broncos fans. Do you think the Chiefs' dominance in the AFC West is officially over? Should the Broncos go after Deebo Samuel, or would you prefer to see them target someone else in free agency or the draft? What are your expectations for next season? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's get the conversation rolling. The offseason is just getting started, and Broncos country has a lot to be excited about.